Our discussion on the Bhagavad Gita from His Holiness Danavir Goswami, who has been practicing Bhakti Yoga for over 48 years. Hare Krishna. So, page number 245. This is the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, named Transcendental Knowledge. And I'll say the Sanskrit words one at a time, and then we can repeat them together, and then we'll recite the verse together. Page 245. Yadrichcha labha santushtaha dvandva atitaha vimatsaraha samaha siddho asiddho cha kritva api na nibadyate yadrichcha labhasantushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddho cha kritvapi na nibadyate yadrichcha labhasantushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddho cha kritvapi na nibadyate yadrichcha labhasantushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddho cha kritvapi na nibadyate.
Yadrichcha labhasantushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddho cha kritvapi na nibadyate.
Yadrichcha labhasantushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddho asiddho cha kritvapi na nibadyate.
Yadrichcha labhasantushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddho asiddho cha kritvapi na nibadyate.
Yadrichcha, out of its own accord. Labha, gain. Santushtaha, satisfied. Dvandva, duality. Atitaha, surpassed. Vimatsaraha, free from envy. Samaha, steady. Siddho, in success. Asiddho, failure. Cha, also. Kritva, doing. Api, although. Na, never. Nibadyate, is affected. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady both in success and failure, is never entangled although performing actions.
Purport.
A Krishna conscious person does not make much effort even to maintain his body. He is satisfied with gains which are obtained of their own accord. He neither begs nor borrows, but he labors honestly as far as in his power, and is satisfied with whatever is obtained by his own honest labor. He is therefore independent in his livelihood. He does not allow anyone's service to hamper his own service in Krishna consciousness. However, for the service of the Lord, he can participate in any kind of action without being disturbed by the duality of the material world. The duality of the material world is felt in terms of heat and cold, or misery and happiness. A Krishna conscious person is above duality because he does not hesitate to act in any way for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore he is steady both in success and in failure. These signs are visible when one is fully in transcendental knowledge.
A person who's transcendentally situated, he thinks of himself as Son of God. We're all sons of God. That's the reality. So it's not just an artificial imagination. We are actually sons of God. And as a father who's loving and dutiful and very wealthy, takes care of his children's needs, the children don't have to worry about it. They don't really even have to worry about an occupation. All they have to do is remain cooperative children, willing to reciprocate with their parents and the other members of the family, and all their necessities are supplied. And if they're satisfied with what they get, then everything is peaceful. If they're too ambitious, why is my brother he has a bigger room than I have? He got a bigger bicycle than I got. If he becomes envious, then he'll never be peaceful. But if he's satisfied with whatever he gets, because he knows that his father is aware of everything. His father and mother know what he needs, and they make all the arrangements. We learn this from the example of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, his so-called biological father was quite evil and was against all principles of good practice. He was very tyrannical, and he tortured his son into doing what he wanted. But the son was so devoted to Krishna or God that finally the father tried to kill him personally. And the Lord appeared, and there was a big fight, and the father was dispatched. So we see who the real Father is. Real Father means eternal Father, because our temporary fathers and mothers, they're only father and mother of this body, this material body. when they make the birth certificate, they write down the names of the parents of the body. Because everybody's in bodily consciousness. So they think that we're the body, and we think that the parents of the body are such and such. But actually, the body is just made of inert matter. It has no life at all. And no one has succeeded yet in taking inert matter and doing some kind of a laboratory process and making that inert matter come alive. Except on television, in the 50s there was Frankenstein. So Dr. Frankenstein did that. But that's just a movie, and it's not true. Life does not come from a combination of matter. And to this day, I've never heard a more reasonable explanation of what life is than what is given in Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas. In fact, I haven't heard any realistic, reasonable explanations of what life is other than that. We are parts and parcels of God. And He's the Supreme Spirit, and we're also spirits. We're His offspring. So, in reality, He is the Supreme Father, and the father and mother of this body, that's a kind of mental arrangement. Because they're not exactly father and mother of the material elements. They didn't produce the material elements. The material elements came from nature. They didn't produce nature. Nature was here before they came. And there's so many factors involved in producing the body. They play a part in it, but they're not independent, they're not the controllers, and they're not the owners. Even if parents think they're the owners of their bodies of their children, the body's changing at every moment. So what will they do when some of the elements of the body leave? Evacuation. The parents don't say, wait a minute, some of my son just went into the sewage. My son just went. No mother runs after that, no father. So it's kind of it's a saying that we're mothers and fathers, but actually we don't own the body, we didn't create the body, we have no idea how it happened, except there was some sexual union, and then the rest took place it was beyond me. I didn't know how it happened. I don't know how the body works. I don't know how to keep it alive. I can't control it. I tell my children what I want them to do, and they may not do it. So these are only temporary kind of costumes we're putting on. Just like some children in a play. Okay, I'll be the mother, you be the child, you be the father. We play these games. But in actuality, we're all eternal. We never take birth. Ajo nityam shashvatoyam parana anyate hanyamani sharire. In Bhagavad Gita it says that for the soul there's neither birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He's unborn, undying and primeval, and he's not slain when the body's slain. What is it that sustains our life. It's not the body. Because the body of a person who dies and the body a few seconds before is virtually the same. They may say, well, no. It looks the same, but there was something different. Something different? What's that different thing? If you know there's something different, prove it. Take that different thing and put it back in. Make it alive again. So you don't know what it is, what that life force is. But it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita, the life force is the spirit soul. The spirit soul is eternal, part and parcel of Krishna, an individual being, individual person. And he has his original spiritual, transcendental form, but when he becomes bewildered, he's put into his prison costume as a human, as a dog, as a coyote, as a bug, as a flea, so many different things. These are our bodies. These are the temporary costumes we go through, but it's not us. The soul is inside. So the soul is the servant and child of God. So there's really nothing to be in anxiety about for our necessities. The elephants get their requirements every day. Thousands of elephants in Africa, India, they get their meals. Who's supplying? The ants get their meals, trees get their meals. Someone is supplying. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. There's one supplier, and that's Krishna, that's God. So, as good children, don't begrudge their brothers and sisters for what gifts they get from the parents. We should be satisfied with what comes of its own accord for us. And knowing that everything belongs to God. And what He gives us, it's not exactly ours to use independently from Him, but rather we should use it in the proper way. We should use it for His service, because He's the Supreme Master, and all the other living entities are meant to serve Him. That's our natural position. We're not meant to try to be masters. When we try to become masters, it becomes foolish. It becomes an embarrassment. Who is there who's mastered over death? Who is mastered over disease? There was a movie called Tarzan, and the star of the movie was a former Olympic swimmer. He became an actor, and he was young and very strong, good looking. But later on in his life, all those assets, they went away. And when reporters would come to take pictures of him, he would break their cameras. He didn't want to be seen. He was so disgusted that he lost all of his youth and strength. And everyone loses it because it's not ours. It doesn't belong to us. It's borrowed. It's given to us to use in the proper way. And the proper way means to use it for Krishna's pleasure. I meant to be used in Krishna's service. We have the idea that we're meant to serve our parents. We have the idea that we're meant to serve our husbands or our wives, our children, our countrymen, our employer, so many situations of service. But actually, the real service is meant between the soul and the Supreme Soul. That's my real duty. All these other so-called duties are actually not real. That doesn't mean, not real in the sense, it doesn't mean that they don't exist, but they're not permanent. They're temporary. They're relative. They have relative importance. But unless we have the absolute situation understood, then the relative importance. I'll give an example. Let's say a man has a very nice suit of clothing, first class haberdashery clothes, very nice, worth hundreds of dollars. And somehow or other, he's walking on the pier with his nice suit and he slips and falls into the water, into the ocean. So his wife is screaming, "Someone save my husband, he doesn't know how to swim." So one strong-looking gentleman runs up and says, "What happened, ma'am?" "My husband fell in the water." "Okay, I'll get him, I'll save him." He jumps out, swims out, comes back. He said, "I saw he had some very nice outfit on, very nice clothes, so I brought the clothes. I figured they were really expensive." So the wife says, "What about him?" "Well, I didn't bring him, I just brought the clothes." No, and everything is lost. The clothes have importance, but it's relative importance. The real important thing is the person. And the real important thing with our bodies is the soul inside the body. Not the body itself, because the body you can't keep, it won't last. But the soul remains. The soul is eternal. So we should give more attention to the absolute reality of who we really are as the soul. What is good for the soul, not what is good for the suit of clothing. If you take care of the soul, then naturally you'll take care of the body. Because it's designed that if you take good care of the soul, you will naturally take good care of your body. You'll eat good foods. You'll be regulated. You'll keep clean. You'll not associate with dangerous situations. You'll think good thoughts. You'll do good deeds. This is natural for a person who is self-realized. He naturally behaves in a very thoughtful, good way. And therefore it's healthy and beneficial for everyone. So he doesn't have to take lessons on what to eat. Why? Because he eats only food that is offered first to Krishna. And Krishna has impeccable taste in eating. He eats only the proper foods, food grains, milk products, fruits, vegetables, nuts. He doesn't eat dead flesh, doesn't eat things like that. So if one resigns himself that I'm only going to eat the spiritual prasadam or mercy that the Lord sets aside for me, and he doesn't have to worry about how he's going to keep his health, where he's going to eat, what he's going to eat. It's all arranged. And serving Krishna is such a divine activity, it makes everything divine. It makes relationships with others divine. It makes living divine, peaceful. It makes knowledge divine. Makes sense. Makes everything enjoyable. And when one tries to enjoy things and plan everything out without Krishna, everything's a failure. It is a failure. Because a life spent simply eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and then dying without self-realization, it's no better than the life of an animal. You can say, you can put some relative value on an animal's life. There's some value in his life, but not very much. But a person who lives his life dedicated to the service of Krishna, that is really a valuable use of time and energy. And the results are fabulous. Eternal benefits. He not only gets eternal benefits, but he gets benefits immediately too. He gets spiritual benefits and he gets material benefits. Spiritual benefits include that he becomes qualified to enter into the spiritual world and to get free from the cycle of birth and death. The cycle of birth and death means that the living entity is put into a particular body as part of his karma, the reaction for his past deeds. After he finishes one term in the set of bodies that he gets for that particular lifetime, then he's put into another body according to his past deeds. And this keeps going on and on and on until he becomes self-realized, until he transcends the mundane activities of the material world. He has to get free from that. And he can't do that by himself, he needs help. Because it's not difficult to understand, but it's like a person drowning in the sea, in the middle of the ocean. It's not difficult to get out of the ocean if there's someone there with a boat. But if you're in the middle of the ocean, you may be a great swimmer. You're a good swimmer? Good swimmer. He's a good swimmer. How many think he would make it in the middle of the Pacific Ocean by himself? Nobody has any confidence. You may be a good swimmer, but you're not that good swimmer. So we may be intelligent, we may be thoughtful, we may be pious, we may be enthusiastic, but by ourselves, we're still lacking. We need help. Therefore, the Vedas say, Brahmande Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. By the grace of Krishna, the living entity who has been transmigrating all over the universe in different bodies, different planets, if he's very fortunate, he comes in contact with a spiritual master who's sent by Krishna to rescue him from the cycle of birth and death. So there's many benefits, spiritual and material, from serving Krishna. And we urge everyone to delve deeper into this science. It's not just a theoretical science, but it's practical. You put it into practice every day. And you can even learn how to put it into practice every moment. That's the perfection of yoga. That's why Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham vadgaten antaradmana shradhavam bhajate yoma same yukta tamamota. The highest yogi is the one who's always dedicated to me in loving service. That's the bhakti yogi. Any discussion?
I have one question. So you're saying, this shloka says that we should be satisfied with whatever we get according to our karma also. But how do we know that this is the only thing we should get? Maybe we should get more.
Yeah. Well, you should be satisfied with what you have now. Is that easy to understand that? You have that watch. Okay, that's all right. You have your kurta, that's okay. You have a car. All right? Yeah, if you try more, you want to get someone else. You want to get more than your quota. It's like you can do a deal. If your father serves out the food, and there's something on the plate that you really like a lot, so your little brother, you twist his arm a little bit. Say, can I have that preparation? Yes, and he gives it to you. You're bigger, you're stronger, so you got his, and then you get the other brother, the second one down. And you may have a big appetite. That's okay, but not at the cost of the others. So, if you think that maybe what you're getting now is not really the full quota, what should you do? That was your question, so I'll answer that. You should, just like the boy, you're now the boy sitting with the plate, and you say, Father, can I have more of those sweet things? He says, no, you don't need more of those sweet things. You can have some of this other stuff, but that sweet stuff, not so much. So what do? Twist the arm? You should say, all right, I should just accept it. So you can ask God, ask Krishna, if you really think that you're missing out on some of your quota, you can go before Krishna and say, my dear Lord Krishna, I'm not sure maybe there's been some hold up in my quota coming in. Could you check and see if there's anything in the storehouse with my name on it? Or not you personally, but maybe you can get someone else to check. And if something comes, but if every day you're asking for more and more and more and more, then you're not understanding what Krishna's saying here. Read it again, please. Translation.
He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality, and does not envy, who is steady both in success and failure, is never entangled although performing actions.
If Krishna wants me to have more, he'll send more. In the meantime, what do? Try for more, or just go on doing my service peacefully? You should go on doing your service peacefully, doing your duty. And if Krishna wants you to have more, he'll arrange that. I'll give you an example. Our spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Ashtotara Satasisi Madhesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he was 81 years old, and his body was, it seemed as though he was going to have to leave this world. So the disciples all over the world were very concerned, and he told them that you can make a prayer to Krishna, my dear Lord, if you so desire, please save our master. The important point there, the Prabhupada stipulated, the prayer had to include if you so desire. Not that just save our master. God is not our order supplier. We don't give him orders and he has to fill them up. Some people think like that. God's just a big Amazon in the sky or something like that. But no, he's the master. If you so desire, we're just expressing how strongly we want him to stay with us, but we know we have faith in your decision. It's like a doctor. If the parents bring a child to the doctor and the doctor says, this child's very, very ill, cannot eat any solid foods, don't give this child any solid foods. So do you think the doctor is being cruel? That's kindness. We have faith in the doctor because we know the doctor is a good person and they're a well-wisher. So how much faith should we have in God and Krishna? He knows what I need. He knows what's best for me. There was one devotee, he was a class friend of Krishna's when they were in school together. And they separated long ago. And this class friend was a Brahmin. He was from an intellectual, priestly family. And they're not very wealthy. They generally don't have very much. But Krishna became a king in Dwarka. So the class friend, he was so poor that his wife urged him, why don't you go to Dwarka? Krishna, your friend, is the king there. He's very generous. I'm sure he'll give you some donation. Otherwise, you can't even feed your family. So finally, the friend agreed. He went there to see Krishna, and Krishna received him. It was a very wonderful reception, and they had a nice day. And the friend forgot to ask for anything. He was so overwhelmed with just being with Krishna. And as he was leaving on his way home, he was thinking, Krishna knows if I need something. He knows how poor I am. He's all cognizant. If he would have wanted, he could have given me immense wealth. But I'm sure he realized how fallen I am, that if he had given me wealth, I would have become bewildered by the wealth and contaminated by bad habits. So he's so kind that he didn't give me anything. Just see how my Lord is wonderful. That's how a devotee sees it. Or modern day terms. We may see one of our godbrothers is so successful in his preaching that he has hundreds and thousands of disciples, followers. We may think, well, I would like to have that too. So many benefits, so much praise. But we should be a little more careful about that, because we might not be able to handle thousands of disciples. It's not such an easy task. It's like a little ant sees an elephant. He's so big, and so the ant thinks, I'll eat like an elephant. You can't do it. Your body won't accommodate it. Be satisfied with your quota. The ant has a little quota, and the elephant can have a big quota. So you have to know whether you're an ant or an elephant, or something in between. And whatever you are, you'll get your quota. And do the best you can with it. The goal of life is not to have things in our name or amassed in our garage. Well, that was a bumper sticker once. Whoever has the most toys when he dies wins. That's not the goal of life. Question?
Where does the spirit soul reside? I've heard you say that modern science cannot find it. Do the Vedas talk at all about that? Is it non-physical? Is it microscopic, and possibly, and is it in the heart? Is it in the third eye?
In the heart. Yes, in the heart. And the size is given. Keshagra shatabhagasya shatada kalpitasya cha. 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. The small tip of the hair. But that's pretty small, because he can fit inside the little amoeba, little bacteria. They're also little beings, right? If you take the microscope, you go down those germs, suddenly they look like little bugs moving around, right? You see they're fully formed, and they've got their composure, and they know what they're doing. They have digestion, have reproduction. They move around. So what the soul must be smaller than that. What's the smallest living entity that they've found? Some little germ? That's small. Maybe not the smallest, but there's one of the small germs in the Sanskrit. It's called Indragopam. Yastrindragopam atavendra mahosva karma. Anyway, that answers your question. We can't see it with our eyes because our eyes can't see that small. But that doesn't mean just because we can't see it with our eyes, it doesn't exist. There are many things we can't see with our eyes that we accept exist. We can't see sounds with our eyes, we can't see thoughts with our eyes, but we know they exist, feelings. What to speak of little spirit soul.
So is our journey as a spirit soul through these different bodies, if we're here now in, this temple with the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, have we been being carried? Have we been guided to this point now, and all those other bodies, all those other shells were just a means to arrive?
Yes. We might have taken some wrong turns. That's why it took us so long. That's why we've been here thousands of births. We took some wrong turns, some wrong births. But through it all, Krishna is the super soul. He accompanies the living entity in his different sojourn bodies. He's called Paramatma, the super soul in the heart. So there's two souls in every heart. One is you or me, and the other is Krishna. Well, Krishna has very kindly been traveling with us as our best friend through all the difficulties, through all the ups and all the downs, all the species. He's been waiting patiently for us to come back and take an interest in him again. So now that we've reached human form of life, and we are taking a little interest, he's very interested. He's very happy. That's why you're happy, because he's happy. You can't be happy unless he's happy. You can try to be happy without him being happy, but it doesn't work. But if you please Krishna, it's like trying to feel happy without giving food to the stomach. You can't do it. You can give it to the ears, to the nose. It doesn't make you happy. You have to give it to the stomach. So we have to please Krishna. He's the enjoyer, the supreme enjoyer. He's Bhoktaram, Jagatapasam, Sarvalokam Suridam, Sarvabhutanam, Kyatfamam, Shantim Richchati. He's the enjoyer, he's the proprietor, and he's the friend of all living entities. If we realize that, then we can live in peace. But if we don't realize that, if we fight over who's the owner, and who's the enjoyer, and who's the dearmost friend, then we will have war all the time, unhappiness, strife, discord, even between friends and family members. Krishna is the center. If he's placed in the center, then everything goes around the center very nicely. It's like a stone thrown in a clear pond makes concentric circles harmoniously. So the central point has to be one, not many. There's too many isms. And they're leaving out Krishna, leaving out God. There needs to be one ism, Krishnaism, in the center, and then everything revolves nicely around. We can get along perfectly then. Does that answer your question?
So once the soul leaves the body, how long does it stay in the vicinity of the body?
Depends what its orders are. Whether it's supposed to go to another body right away. Sometimes when one becomes so attached to the body that when it's time to leave the body, they want to stay around the body. So sometimes if you go to cemeteries at night, you get some eerie feelings that maybe there's some other souls lurking around there. They're so attached to their bodies. That's another reason we shouldn't be attached to this body.
Because one time when I was an intern, we used to have to, in the middle of the night, go and pronounce patients dead.
Go what?
Pronounce the patient dead. It was part of the legal process.
In the middle of the night.
Yes. So the nurse will call you and say, Dr. Singh, so-and-so has expired. Can you come and pronounce the patient? So one time I went to pronounce the patient, and it felt so strange in that room, and I didn't even know the person. But it just felt like that there was a presence that was there in that room, but it wasn't that body. That's why I was wondering.
He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave that body. Well, we're attached to these bodies. Even if they're old and useless, we're still attached to them. We don't want to give them up. That's Maya. That's illusion. So go ahead, second part. Was that answer?
I got to speak. Make sure I speak in it. How would I put it? I've had a lot of deaths close to me. My mother, my father, my deceased wife, and my best friend, not even 3 months ago. Yeah. I mean, I'd come in there and I'd see my dad. He had a lot of fear in him. And what I believe, there's an energy, there's a power, people put off energy. My dad had a lot of fear. So when I walked in that room, he was gone, That spirit's gone, but all that fear was still in that room. You bring a dog in that room, that dog wouldn't stay in that room. You go in rooms, where my mother, before she passed, we had talked. And I said, Mom, because her quality of life was really bad. She smoked for 60 years. 60 years. Never had cancer, though. That's how I lost my wife. But I said, Mom, why don't you just pray to God? Well, you call Hare Krishna. I call my father, not my biological father. So, Mom, you ask God to take you in your sleep. I don't know how long it was. Year and a half. I don't know. Like, give me a call. Say your mom's in bad shape. She's getting ready to go. So I got my car. I drove. And I went in there, and they said she knew I was in there. But, I hold her hand. She don't squeeze. I don't think she knew I was in there. But that was nice of them. And I held her hand. I didn't even know she took her last breath. It was my sister run out of the room screaming. So
is there a question? Or?
Is there a question in there?
Yeah.
No, I'm just sharing that with you.
Okay, thank you.
Another thing I'll share with you, too. One last thing. When I was a young man, I had a bunch of kids in my school. Not a bunch, 4 or 5. Bet me $50 to sleep in the graveyard. True story. I swear across my deceased life. So I went to the graveyard. Laid up against the headstone on the backside, no disrespect. I was taught that as a child. You know what? I slept there. Woke up, and there was something right behind my head. And I was scared for a moment. But you know what it was? A squirrel. My dad always said, don't have to worry about the dead ones. He's alive. You have to worry about
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
my father, Hare Krishna. Same thing.
Right here.
Hare Krishna. Back to this point about gaining opulence, even I guess I'm unsure about it, but when one becomes, spiritually qualified, Krishna may endow him with spiritual opulence, followers, facility, things like this. So I'm wondering if our advancing spiritually is in any way dependent on these opulences. For example, you may, by having more followers and more, funds, then you may be able to have more facility for spiritual advancement Or I
That's a
mean,
good question. Everyone please pay attention to this question. It's a good one.
so you may have more facility for spreading Krishna consciousness, more facility to influence the lives of others, a more number of people like this. So
Yeah, that's a possibility. But it may also have the opposite effect. In other words, you may be doing exactly the service you're supposed to be doing with the sphere, with the facilities that Krishna has given you. And instead of being satisfied with what you've got, you're always thinking of getting something more, and you're striving to get that more. There's a story about a man, he was a potter. He made clay pots. So he made one clay pot, and then he decided he'd lean back and take a little rest. And he was thinking, well, I've got one pot now. I can sell that pot. I'll get $3. Then I'll reinvest it. I'll make 2 pots. I'll sell those. I'll get $6. Then I'll sell those. I'll make 4 pots, 8 pots. When I get up to 132 pots, I'll take some money aside. I'll get a house. I'll get a wife. I'll make more pots. I'll hire some people, make more pots. And I'll have the wife, and she'll do whatever I say. If she doesn't do what I say, I'll give her a kick. And he kicked the one pot and broke it. So, we can't spend too much time. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, forget the past that sleeps, and ne'er the future dream at all, but act in times that are with thee, and progress thee shall call. So don't worry too much about the past, what you lost. That's nashochati. Don't lament over what you lost. And nakankshati means hankering for something you don't have. Be satisfied with what Krishna has given you. Krishna's already given you so much. This is our tendency. We want something that we don't have. In the meantime, we're not using what we already have. Sometimes people say, well, there's no service for me. I want to do something big. I want to. Maybe Krishna wants you to do something big. Maybe the big thing that you have to do is right here, like clean the floor. We have our idea what we think is big. Big means we're thinking, I'll be honored, and I'll have big cars, and I'll have servants, and I'll fly all over the world, and I'll be big. Everyone will respect me. My name will go down in history. I'll be big. But that may not be big for us. Big might be he cleaned the floor every day, he came and chanted his rounds. That's big. Because what is the big? The big means you become qualified to go back to the spiritual world. You please Krishna. If Krishna is pleased, that's big. Not if you have your name in the newspaper or on the internet or something. That's not big. Big means if Krishna is pleased with you. If your duty is to cook, let's say, an offering for Krishna every day, is that big? It's just one offering. Cook some vegetables and some rice. Anyone could do it. Is it big? Yes, it's big because Krishna is the supreme, he's the biggest. And you're cooking for him, and if he's pleased, what more do you have to do? How much bigger can you get than that? You want to perform in front of a stage of thousands of people cheering you on, dancing, singing your name, but just chant before Krishna, and he's everywhere. If he's pleased, then you're the best performer, you're the best. You've achieved the perfection of your musical talent. So everyone can be big in relationship with Krishna. Krishna makes everyone big who comes and associates with him and serves him. Okay? Yes. This may be the last question before the arti. The arti will be ready, Sridham, in a few minutes? Arti, okay, go ahead.
Very important. That's important. Well, I have a variation on what you're speaking about, Maharaj, and the question is, there's several old blues and jazz songs called "There Ain't No Such Thing as Easy Money." Easy money is the expression used in public for folks who think there's some such thing as easy money. I wondered if you might want to comment on that.
Well, easy money, for example, let's say someone's born with a silver spoon in his mouth. That seems like pretty easy money, right? He's born in, let's say he's born in a Rockefeller family. He's got millions and millions of dollars in his bank account. His trust fund, his this, that. He never has to worry about any money. How did he get it? He got it because in his previous life he was extremely pious, very, very devotional, very devoutly service to God. He didn't become completely spiritualized, but he did a lot of pious religious activities. So this is the result of that. That's not the best result though. But that answers the question about easy money. So it's easy. It looks like easy now, but if you go back, you see, look what he did. He was so generous before. He was always doing good deeds. He never indulged in misbehavior and so many things. So he earned it. The judge, sometimes the people say, he sits on the bench, he just sits there, and he gets 10 times more than we get, and we're out working all day. What is this? This is not fair. But no, he's doing service, he's doing work of a higher caliber, we could say. So the highest caliber work or service we can do is service to the Lord. And if one does that, then all of his necessities will be supplied. Thank you very much. Om Namah Shivaya.